Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and the Court of Session announced its decision today regarding remedies should Boris Johnson fail to comply with the Benn Act. Well, they sort of announced their decision anyway, but it is extremely interesting, and with a few other events from today, sets up nicely a high noon showdown on Brexit for October the 19th. But first, if you find yourself enjoying the video, then please click the like button and subscribe to the channel. So there were one of three things that the Court of Session could have announced today. This was after the case. The petitioners wanted the Court of Session ideally to be able to sign the letter themselves if Boris Johnson refused, but at least to come up with some legal remedy to ensure that the Benn Act is complied with, even if the Prime Minister refuses to comply himself. So the court could have announced a remedy. Now, there's a couple of problems with that. First of all, it would predispose the court towards assuming that there's a very high likelihood, at least, that the Prime Minister would break the law. And although we can think that's a reasonable assumption, it's a hell of a step for a court to be able to work on that working basis. The other slight problem, I suppose, with it, and this not being, I'm not a legal expert, may be that the nature of the remedy may need to know exactly what happens on October the 19th as well. The other thing they could have done, which is what the government wanted them to do, was to throw it out, much as happened with the other case in the Court of Session, on the basis that the Prime Minister has promised in court to comply with the law. Now, of course, if he doesn't, the court could still say, well, then come back to us and we'll sort it out. But everyone knows time's going to be ticking down. That's what the government wanted them to do, though, throw it out there. So they could at least play a delaying game. They didn't do that. What happened was they announced today that they will announce their decision on October the 21st. So the timescale is as follows. Boris Johnson, if he cannot get a deal agreed with the EU and then passed through Parliament by October the 19th, and he can't get Parliament to vote in favour of leaving without a deal, then he is compelled by the Benn Act to request an extension. If he does it at the council meeting that's going to take place on the 17th and 18th of October, fine, no problem. But if he doesn't do that, then he has to sign a letter which has already been worked out. He doesn't write the letter. It's already been sorted according to the Benn Act by the end of October the 19th, by midnight on October the 19th. Now, there's a few very interesting things going to happen. Something else was announced today. October the 19th, already we knew was going to have a large protest. There's another People's March taking place on Saturday, October the 19th in London. There's going to be another 1 million people there, maybe plus, particularly with this spicy bit of news from today. Not the court decision, something else. Now, I'm afraid, again, I'm not going to be able to go there, but actually, all things considered, it may be better that I'm here reporting on events anyway, because Parliament are also going to be sitting on October the 19th, on a Saturday. There is going to be an emergency sitting of Parliament. Now, I do not know what the different parties are going to use that time to do. What I do know is there's going to be a scenario where Boris Johnson has returned from the EU summit. So we will at that, and by when they're sitting, we know at that point whether or not he's going to have to sign it. All right, fair enough. The law allows him to wait till midnight to do it, but they are going to know on that day that that's going to happen. They're not going to be voting for a deal. They're not going to be voting for no deal. If Boris Johnson hasn't returned from the summit with an extension, the Benn Act comes into force. We are going to have Parliament sitting to discuss the next Brexit step at the same time at which there's going to be a massive peaceful demonstration marching through London against Brexit. Not just against no deal Brexit, against Brexit. And as energetic as they were and as numerous as they were on when these things have taken place just on normal Saturdays, on a Saturday, which is such a crunch day for Brexit, and on a Saturday where all the people who are going to be marching know that Parliament are sitting, Surely that's got to bring out, that's going to be something special. That will be something to behold. And as I say, I shall be reporting as best I can, not only on the progress of the march, but also what's happening in Parliament and also what's coming from Downing Street on that day. And then with the judges from the Court of Session announcing that their decision is going to be made on October the 21st, it's quite clever because what it does, it doesn't say, oh yes, we've got a remedy in mind. Obviously they have, otherwise they'd have just thrown it out today. There's no reason to hold the decision for this long. So what they're doing is they're basically saying we recognise that the Prime Minister is fundamentally dishonest without explicitly stating it, because that, as I say, dodgy territory for a judge. But also, or several judges in fact, but also what it means is they're giving the Prime Minister the opportunity to comply with the Benn Act. Given that Parliament are also sitting on that Saturday, they're giving Parliament an opportunity to do something as well. What are they going to do? What are they going to say? That way, when the judges announce their decision on Monday, October the 21st, they will be fully seized of, one, whether or not the Prime Minister has complied with the law, and two, what Parliament has to say about it. And if the Prime Minister does comply with the law, then that's fine. Their decision can then be, well, we had a remedy, we're not going to need it for this. Remember, there's two parts to it, though. It's not just that Boris Johnson has to sign the letter. He also has to sign the acceptance if the EU decide against the January 2020 extension, which surely they will, and offer a different extension, a longer extension, presumably, instead. He is legally obliged to accept it and then bring it before Parliament. So presumably the decision will have to take that into account as well. But if he's complied with the law, fine. If he hasn't complied with the law, then their decision can be twofold. First of all, it can be to hold him in contempt of court, send the police. But secondly, and much more importantly, and certainly more urgently, they can then reveal their remedy. And if their remedy is, well, tell you what, just give us the letter, we'll sign the bloody thing. And by the way, we'll also make sure the EU Council know to send the counter offer to us, and we'll sign that as well and send it to Parliament, then all to the better. But what this definitely means is they do definitely have a remedy. They just don't want to announce it unless it's absolutely necessary, which is why they are not going to make this announcement until that Monday. And as I say, Saturday, 19th of October is a good day to get some popcorn in because there's going to be plenty happening. So I hope you found the video interesting. If you'd like to support the channel further, then please click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.